Good morning.
Good morning.
All meeting to order. Looking for approval of minutes from Monday, February 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Or you want to do the agenda first?
I'm sorry. Let's back up. Approval of the agenda.
There's no deletions or corrections. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 1, review, reconsider fiscal year 26 salaries for sheriff, chief deputy sheriff, sheriff deputies, jail, comm center. So I'll give a quick review of what has happened in the last, I think it was at the February 20th meeting. So the current COLA is 2.5%. The sheriff requested 10%. The Board of Supervisors approved 5%. The deputies, 5% request. Board of Supervisors approved 5%. Jailers requested 5%. Board of Supervisors approved 2.5%. Comm Center requests 5%. Board of Supervisors approved 3.5%. The chief deputy currently makes 85% of the sheriff's salary. Then we passed a motion to approve the elected officials' salaries and compensation, and then passed a motion approving the non-elected, non-union salaries and compensation. So that's the history. And Ken, if you want to step up, and you might need to turn that mic on. Anyway.
Courtney put together this beautiful spreadsheet. If everybody has a copy of it, that's above my pay grade. Basically what I'm here to ask the board to do, just to be fair to everybody in my office. I'd like to go down to a 4% raise. Kretzinger would be at 85% of that then. And the deputies have agreed to take a 1% cut from 5 to 4. And bring the comm center up to 4% and the jail up to 4%. So it'd be 4% across the board for the whole office.
I asked why you changed your stance on this now?
Well, there were so many numbers being thrown out that Thursday. I didn't really think about it till now, or last Friday, actually. So that's why I'm here today.
Can we amend this after already being approved? I guess, is it legal to do? Can we do this?
Yes.
We can.
So Ken, when we did comparables.
I
Go.
had one concern, and I meant to give you a call, Courtney. Ken originally talked to me about putting in the one thing. Some or all the deputies out of rural fund as opposed to general basic.
We have 2 out of general and the rest are out of rural.
So the numbers would need to be changed. You can't just put it all together.
Correct. A lot of it needs to be changed if they make
Okay,
a change. Yes.
because some of the deputies are paid out of rural fund.
Exactly.
You can't pay, well. I've never heard of any good argument why you pay jailers out of rural fund. So do that funding thing. Ken originally said, can you just put it all in one and not direct? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Right now we have the sheriff, his office staff, the chief deputy, and 1 deputy out of the general fund.
Okay.
All the jailers, comm center are all out of general, and then the remaining deputies are out of rural.
Okay, from a legal point of view, that was what I was asked to cover by Ken. And then the initial issue is, can you change the resolution? Yes,
You can.
at least prior to, you have a certified budget yet.
No.
Okay,
And I'm not here trying to make more work for anybody. It's something that kind of ate at me, and we talked amongst ourselves and thought this was probably the best way to satisfy everybody.
But, so, a couple questions I have is, on the deputy sheriffs, I emailed all the 6 surrounding county auditors to get the current salaries. And 5% is what was determined that they needed. So if they go back down to 4, then next year, is there gonna be a bigger ask? I mean, yeah,
Possibly. I mean, this, in the big scheme of things, this decreases each deputy's salary by $770 for the year.
Well, I guess I'm kind of concerned in the fact that I thought we did very good comparables through this whole process a couple weeks ago. I mean, it was a drawn out affair. You asked for 10 and now you're down to 4. I question why that reasoning is. The thing
Here's
is,
my reasoning. I'll tell you right now. In my mind, our jail staff works the hardest. They bring in the most money and we trim their budget by the most money. But they're the ones responsible for all the Polk County funds that we take in the Calhoun County funds.
well,
And they work their asses off.
let me finish. I mean, that was the thing, but the only ones we didn't get any comparables was on the jailers. I mean, it seemed like it was all fine and dandy then. You know, they also got a big raise 2 years ago.
got 12%.
12% 2 years ago. I'm starting to, this big raise is not sustainable. And I have a hard time reopening things up. I mean, I thought we went through things pretty in-depth this year. Would you agree, everybody?
Yes,
And that's not, I don't think that's very appreciative of us, of what we try to give you what we can at the most that we can make fit into the budget. And I also talked to Crawford County. If you want a case, Crawford County's board is asking their sheriff to reduce their budget $300,000 this year. I was just told that yesterday. So, I mean, I am not in favor of changing this. I mean, everybody got a big raise 2 years ago. We can't have this repeat every couple of years.
But the one reason they did get a raise is we had somebody retire, we didn't backfill that position.
Well, that wasn't the only reason why, but
I have a problem with, I think what you have is a good proposal, but if we do it for, how many other departments are gonna come and want the same thing going on, coming and amending their budgets, but hopefully none of them,
I
but
can't answer.
no,
that.
I know
Like
you
I said,
can't.
I'm not here to
No.
cause headaches for the board.
yeah, no, I think it's good, but I just worry about if we do this, we set a precedent that somebody gets something they don't want, they come back and try and re-amend it. But
Well, I can answer it from my point of view.
Yep.
I think the sheriff is in the best position to understand the morale of his office. My understanding that he didn't just make this decision in a vacuum, he actually talked to his people. And short-term, long-term, it has to do with recruitment. Has to do with retention. I've never agreed with comparisons between offices. I think it leads to a lot of hurt feelings if nothing else. So I've just not gone there. At least not that I ever recall.
well, when I'm talking comparables with different departments, the sheriff departments, not between all.
Okay, okay. I mean, I'm not gonna come in and say. Like my daughters would. You know, you gave her $1.
well, I recall
I haven't done that and I'm not gonna start.
3 years ago, conservation came in and said he wanted a 0% raise because he wanted his raise to go to his staff. To keep them.
And I considered doing that, but the problem is that affects Chief Deputy Kretzinger greatly. And he's in the process of trying to build a new house, and I don't want to do that.
I put a lot of time and homework into it. I never did receive any comparables for the jail staff.
And I brought that up the day we met. It's hard when you have a jail where you have dispatcher jailers, not full-time jailers, like in Audubon County, Greene County has an 8-bed jail. Guthrie has a newer jail. Calhoun doesn't have a jail at all. Sax is old. I just didn't think they'd be fair comparables.
And I realize the jail does bring in money, but that doesn't quite even offset the bond payment. Other thoughts?
Current debt on the jail is $10,674,750. When you're saying that don't offset bond payments.
I guess what I was trying to say was I don't think bringing in additional revenue in the jail substantiates a reason for an increase.
I see what you're saying. Yep.
Well, as I've always said, the taxpayers paid for the jail, they need to be reimbursed first.
And we hear how the deputies were asking them to take a lesser now when they might be recruited laterally or by the state. I just think it puts us in a bad spot. I mean, I thought we did what was right the first time.
Ken, did you have conversations with every deputy that would be going from 5 to 4?
Everyone but 2. We were kind of had a meeting, and one of them couldn't make it, and the other one's at a guard training.
Okay, and
It's all
how did that conversation go?
good.
And what'd you tell them the reasoning was?
I thought it'd be even or the best for the whole office if everybody got the same across the board. And they're all familiar with what the jailers do and what they put up with.
I love this. I just wish it was presented to us like this the first go around, to be honest with you.
I wish I would have thought of it too. I don't like coming back here,
Yeah.
Well, I think,
but sometimes it takes our clarity to think of something.
and I agree with what Mark said. I think we do this, we're setting a precedent, and I'm not gonna sit up here and try to rehash everything 2 or 3 times.
And then we passed the two motions where we did all the elected, because you're asking yours to go down. So then does that open up for all the other elected? And then we also said all the non-union
Yeah, being
Salaries.
for the conference board, does that open it up for everybody else?
that's what I don't know.
This is,
So we open it up, does that mean 0 then?
this cost the county an additional, what, $4,849.82 by Courtney's math.
And if that's an issue, I'll go down to 3%. And John will be at 85% of that.
Again, we're not doing a wage freeze. The minimum was 2.5%, which is cost of living, and it's not our money to give away.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it puts us in a tough spot. I thought we gave it very thoughtful consideration the first time around, and I put in a lot of homework, and I think a lot of other people did too, on coming
I
up
think
with
a
the
lot of
numbers.
us- a lot of
It
us
took
did.
us, well, it took us many motions to even get to where we're at now. This wasn't a slam dunk thing.
Well, and I agree with you. We put a lot of effort in this. I think we did more research and study this year. Of course, we're the comp board. That's the reason why. Well, I'm not in favor of opening it up again. Do we need a motion to that effect or what?
Yeah,
I'll make a motion. We leave things to stand as they do and we don't reopen it. I just think it's gonna be bad for us.
Bad for my morale.
I know, but you gotta look at it, they got a raise. I mean, I'm not saying, there's a lot of other ones got 2.5% too. I mean, if they're gonna be dissatisfied, then we're gonna have other people dissatisfied.
They really didn't act dissatisfied. I'm the one that was dissatisfied with how I handle
Okay.
things.
But you gotta see our point. When we, it's just, My motion stays the same.
There's a second.
I'll second on the point that I think we're gonna open up a can of worms if we change it.
There any more discussion?
I just want to make a comment. Sheriff, I know you do a wonderful job. I think your staff does a wonderful job. I think everybody in Carroll County can agree with that. I do wish this would have transpired 2 weeks ago. And I do understand why you're saying, clear minds and thoughts don't happen right away, but I agree with these guys as well. We can't open this back up. And I feel a little bit disappointed just because we did work so hard to try and do what we thought was best for everybody.
Countywide.
Countywide. And I know I didn't approve a lot of pay raises. And times are tough right now. And even to do cost of living adjustments is tricky. So I'm gonna agree with these guys as well that it just, we can't do it. And luckily my motion didn't go because it was a freeze this year.
All right, we have a motion second. Any more discussion? Mike, Mark? Courtney, can we do a roll call?
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Your hard work for.
You're welcome.
Item 2, secondary roads, review and award contract for. Instead of spelling these out, Zach, can I just? Sure. 140th Street from Highway 71 to Ivy, 150th Street from Highway 71 to Quail, and then 7/10 of a mile south. And M66, 3 miles south of Manning.
Thank you.
You didn't even hear.
I don't know. I don't think so.
John, you're welcome to attend any meeting,
Of course.
and we could get a second chair beside Courtney. There is room if you would like to.
Of course. I'd like one a little bigger. No, I'm just kidding.
We can make room. We can.
Thanks for being here, John.
Yeah,
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you.
I think it's easy to backseat anything. And I've got opinions on most things. But when it comes down to good public policy. That's what you need to make up here. So, thank you.
Thank you for attending. Okay, Zach.
So hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, 3 roads again, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sheriff's-
Do you want me to read them technically or?
No.
Okay.
The roads they are.
So 140th Street.
Yep.
A 3 mile stretch from Highway 71 to Ivy.
Yep.
150th Street from Highway 71 to Quail and 7/10 of a mile south to the stop sign in Litterdale. M66
South of Maine.
south of Manning, 3 mile stretch from 141 to 340th Street, which is Audubon County.
There you go.
Perfect. So
And it was good news on the letting, by the way.
we had letting through the Iowa DOT a week and a half ago. Almost 2 weeks ago. And had bids from 5 different contractors. Came in very well. The low bid was from Norris Asphalt Paving. Out of Atumwa. For just under 3.7 million for those 3 roads. Keep in mind, we let this as those 3 projects being tied together to try to get a better bid. I think that helped. But was all said and done, Norris was the low bidder. So the next step in the process is.
Wait, but can I hold you there? Weren't all the bids within like 2.5% of each other?
It was close. They were all very competitive. I guess we didn't have any questions on the plan or anything like that. So I guess that tells me they all kind of understood what the intentions were of these 3 projects and yeah, I mean, that's what you hope for.
Last question, where's Norris out of?
Atumwa.
Thank you.
And they've done work before for us.
They
They do good work.
multiple times they have, yeah.
They're probably one of the better
They're
contractors. Right at the
Definitely a
top.
quality contractor.
They'd be the top of your list if you were.
Definitely towards the top. So there's these three projects, two of them are utilizing farm to market funds, one's utilizing local funds. So, but when you tie them all together, it all comes out of our farm to market. Those two come out of the farm to market account, and the one will still come out of our local account, so. But, as far as the contracts for all three of those projects tied together, so. So the DOT, got the official, I guess, numbers put together. And the next step in the process is to award the contract to Norris, if we so choose to. I would recommend doing that. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. I guess any other questions on the project?
Time frame.
Can't talk to the contractor yet about that, so it'll be anytime once we sign the contract to the end of the summer or first fall, so.
No, that's always the question. It's weird how he can't do that.
I know.
Yeah.
And then the second question is there a breakdown by square mile where on M66 they're doing the shoulder, where on 140th they're not? Is it, do you have a price per mile by that?
Yep, so well, not price per mile, but I included the actual bid tab that in your packet, I believe.
You did.
And those will give you the line items for each type of work for each segment. It's all broken out. When you're approving the contract, it's lumping it all back together, but we're gonna pay them by line item per section of road essentially, so.
So do we know the dollar amount that's gonna come out of local funds?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Do you know what that is? Or can you
Yep.
steer me to the right page? There was a lot here.
Well, on the first page of the bid tab, this sheet.
Yep.
It's hard to read underneath there, but the middle one is the M66, the second one there. And I believe it's 1.211 million. That's the local project dollar amount.
And do you have what you quoted that at?
1.192, so.
So on that one, we came out,
That one a little bit higher.
yeah, too bad it wasn't the other way around, but
It balances out in the end, I guess, as far as what you're getting. Part of the reason is I think it's haul distance for the materials, the raw materials coming in. My guess is that's further. So
so you're thinking they're gonna set up in the north part of the county.
well, that's where I think the raw materials are gonna come from, and I'm guessing they'll be set up in the north part of the county.
All right, thank you.
And contractors are able to put whatever numbers they want in there, so why they put more into that project versus the other? I don't know, I guess the bottom line is we're looking for the best bottom dollar for all three combined.
Could be
That's
the
how-
distance to the plant. One that I can think of right now.
So, but that's how they do that, I guess.
I will say, Carroll County received a compliment from a few of the vendors or contractors that placed bids. People like working in Carroll County. And that was a comment that was made. And they said we should be pretty grateful for how low our bids come in because nowhere else they come in this low. So compliments to you and your staff and
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, I'll move that we award the contract to Norris and authorize, well, I guess that's a
That's B,
separate.
that's B.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to award the contract to Norris. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. B, approve resolution 2025-006 to allow engineer to execute contract.
So the way the contract works and all this works now is it's done electronically through Doc Express. That's where the signatures happen. And I believe it's been a number of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, that they've allowed the county engineer to be able to execute these contracts. So that way the process doesn't have to go through the board chair and getting their digital signature put together as that position changes quite often. So I guess we've done it this way in the past, asking to do that the same way this time, just to keep the process moving. Again, don't know how fast. I mean, obviously, we're not ready to start laying asphalt tomorrow or this week with the way the weather looks, but it could be within the next month or two. I mean, it's depends on what Mother Nature throws at us and what the contractor schedule looks like, but, I guess, any questions on?
I think we've done, it, like you said, the
Different
last
motion.
several years. I just have one question. Will this last the whole construction season for the DOT?
This is on a
Or
project,
this specific to?
project specific and how
Okay.
they set this up, and that's why in the resolution, those projects are listed for that project, so it's basically, and we don't have a lot of lettings, so I guess it's not a huge deal, but, that's the way DOT has it set up.
Roll call. on
We're-
that?
It will be. We need a motion first.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2025-006.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. All those, Courtney, please.
Anderson.
Yes.
Houseman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
McCray.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
2C, department update.
I got a few things, just to briefly talk about. The DOT is gonna be, doing some work, in and around Carroll County, on a couple of their primary routes. We did get a letter and they asked me to forward it on to you guys. I believe I included that for you. They're gonna be doing some, slurry sealing on Highway 30 east of Glidden. Don't know exactly when they're gonna do that, but they're just wanting us to let us know. That one, they'll be doing it under traffic from what they're telling us, so shouldn't be any major concerns for well, how would it affect, I guess, our operations or our roads, but just wanted to. bring it to your-
It'll just be one lane traffic. They don't want to detour anywhere.
Correct, that'd be, I assume they would use a flagger pilot car setup, and I assume it wouldn't take them real long to do what they're doing.
This is from Glidden to Rolston, basically.
Yep,
And that detour is pretty long. It's a large detour.
it is, so it gets us to the second one. The DOT is looking to do a scrub seal on Highway 71 north of Carroll, all the way up to Auburn. And, originally they have let this, not having a detour, but they have found when they did similar projects, last fall, that it was better to detour traffic off the route to be able to accomplish that work. So, they came to me to ask for a detour. They had a different route. Suggested at first that I felt wasn't gonna work for the amount of traffic that could be using that detour, so we kind of put our heads together and try to come up with the best route to send folks. There's no good route. It's a little ways out of the way. But the route that we have, I think it's probably the best available.
Do we have to stay in Carroll County detour? We couldn't go, I'm saying, couldn't you go through West Side? You really wouldn't head any towns more or less and
You could push them further, but who's gonna follow it? It's like, where do you think the traffic's gonna go? And the other thing is if there are any damages or concerns, the DOT will address it of if you put where the detour is.
right.
If you push them further than that, then you're on your own. So
I'm just asking because I know you got to go wind your way through Arcadia,
Yep.
which isn't good. Where if you took this, you're just going a straight shot from.
Well,
we discussed it. It's just how far, what are the expectations that you would expect the public to travel?
No.
There's a lot of things that go into this because N28 up in Calhoun, Sac County is gonna be closed April 1st for a reconstruction project. So the traffic coming down that road isn't gonna be there. So are people gonna stay east of 71 and come south? Are they gonna try to come down just to the west of 71, like
Yeah.
through Maple River? Are they gonna go over to Arcadia? I don't know which way traffic's gonna go.
No, I'm just
So-
throwing that out there. I'm sure you looked at it. I don't.
So
The-
it's kind of a guess on
Sure.
how traffic's gonna, and there's lots of things that factored into it. There's gonna be a bridge that the DOT is gonna be working on Highway 30 east of Carroll this summer as well. They're not detouring that. That's gonna be a traffic signal situation, so bringing traffic to the east and running through that signal wasn't a good idea. They didn't want to do that. I don't blame them. So there's lots of stuff that's going to be going on in and around Carroll County this summer, and that's part of construction.
Nope, I just, that's
What
right.
do you, what do you, what do you call that on 71? What are they doing to it?
Scrub seal is what is the term they use. It's basically, using oil and getting it worked into all the cracks and joints. And then putting down some
chip.
sort of chip material. I think limestone chips is what they're doing, and then putting like a fog seal is what they call it on top of that. So it's a
Band-Aid.
a Band-Aid to try to extend the life of the pavement.
Yeah, good thing.
They try to get
Windshield.
5 more years out of it, or do you know?
I don't know how many years.
But back to the Glidden Bridge, so they are not gonna detour traffic and they're gonna close it one lane this year?
That's the way I understand it.
Over Storm Creek.
Yeah.
Now that, going back to this detour through Arcadia, I think the one positive thing is if they're detoured down, if there's any damages, at least that road is scheduled for fiscal year 27.
We talked about that as well. We thought that would hold up the best of the scenarios that were feasible of where to send traffic. And again, the general public's gonna go where they wanna go.
Yeah.
Can't stop them from going through Maple River.
Absolutely.
We don't want them to, but they're gonna go there.
Exactly,
Yeah.
the locals will.
The big concern there was the truck traffic. The truck traffic through Maple River would be a very hard thing to do, getting around those corners.
They're tight.
They're very tight.
Yeah, there. Thank you. Sounds good.
So that's the other work that's going on that I'm aware of. I believe they're also gonna do some pavement patching. I've seen some plans and letting for the DOT on 7130 right near Carroll on the concrete sections as well. So, like I said, there's a lot of work going on. Kind of gets us to upcoming lettings for us as well. In the March DOT letting, we're gonna have 3 projects. The first one is a joint one with Greene County for the bridge on Apple Avenue south of Ralston. So that'll be in that March letting. And then we also have our 2 concrete box projects, P7 and P15. P7.
300th and 320th.
Yep, 320th northwest of Coon Rapids. And then 300th north of Coon Rapids. So those will be in the March letting as well. So just we'll see how the numbers come in on those, and hopefully we get good bids there as well.
And Wednesday's a secondary roads holiday
I
with the
would-
upcoming
sure,
forecast.
Sure. Sounds like could get interesting with the winds that were.
Yeah, 40.
No major events until February and then they hit.
I guess we're a good portion of the way through the winter, so it's always good. Snow is gonna melt, and it obviously has. But I don't think we're done yet.
All right.
Any more questions for Zach? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item number 3, vote on tentative agreement reached between Carroll County and Paramedic Association. I can real quick do the highlights. Is that okay, Mike, Mark, or do you guys want to do it?
Absolutely. No, go for it.
There are 3 changes. One was a language change regarding hours of work. The other 2 changes are a increase in the tiered section, and the other one was an increase on the call rate. You guys want to go into detail, or anybody has questions?
You guys have questions, I
Yep.
guess, is the biggest thing.
So when you guys tentatively, you didn't know the total cost of this project,
Well, we did on,
just on the one part of it, right?
for sure, the 50 cents on call hours, yes, and the and then
I think you went 50 cents on the
50 cent.
tiers.
and then on tiers is roughly 50%. And one of those tiers has nobody in it, I want to say. Total cost of the tier change was around $10,000. Let me pull up my notes. So, and the raise of the staff received with, out the word change of the first thing was 2.95%. This ranged from 1.45% for an entry level paramedic to 4.65% for a tier 4 paramedic. There's a 50 cents increase to the call pay, cutting it to $9 an hour. This included a 25-cent increase for tier 1, a 75-cent increase for tier 2, a $1 increase for tier 3, and a $1.25 increase for tier 4. Then the biggest thing was there was also a definition change for the scheduled hours worked. This
Okay.
Yep, this consists of increasing the duty overtime hours to 168 from 84 and decreasing the call hours from 1836 to 1752.
And those were from the 4 AM to 6 AM, if I remember right.
Yes. Before we knew there was a dollar amount, well, we knew there'd be a dollar amount.
Yep.
To that, but before that dollar amount was introduced, there was 7 people around that table that all said that hours need to be changed.
More or less, they said that's right on the edge of labor laws on some.
Yes.
Fair Standards Laborers
Yes,
Union Act.
that's, he said, we're in, right inside the mark there, but we said we're right on the edge of it, so it's probably a good move. It's gonna cost some money, it's a bad thing. And nobody seems to know why they changed it like that. Sounds like that changed it years ago, but they aren't sure why that went to that, to the budget thing or what they did back in the day. So,
Do you remember that, Gene, being talked about?
You know, this thing is, there's been
It's
so many
vague.
changes over the year that, and their scheduling has always been one of the most complicated ones I've ever seen.
very, very complicated. I still don't have it figured out.
Well, and the other thing is, it's tough to come up with an average because everyone with the tiers makes a different rate.
Rate too,
And the
exactly.
tiers, for people who don't understand, are years of service being a critical care paramedic.
I don't know if Jamie's math is correct here, but it says when I update the overall cost of all the full-time staff payroll, including salaries, vacation, FICA, IPERS, insurance, this is a 4.88% increase because of the
Language.
language change of that deal.
I mean, I think the language needed to be changed, so I don't have.
I'm not gonna disagree that the language needed to be changed, but I'd like to see that percentage probably overall ask lower.
Well, the overall ask is 7.4.
Yeah.
I've never been, I usually like to go along with tentative agreements, but this is one time I think we're too far off the mark what we set out on bases. I think we need not to accept the tentative agreement. I think it needs to be some more work put into this.
So would you suggest the tiers go to 25 cents?
I
instead
think
of-
that's up for the people
Oh,
to
true.
negotiate
No,
between.
Good point.
In the past, what we've done is, what do you want? Maybe you
That's
can't
what
have
they-
everything, but what do you want the most? Let's work on that and then forget about the rest of the stuff.
We tried doing that, didn't Mike, I guess.
Well, I mean,
I'm okay.
you gotta remember, if I think we go back and if I remember right, if we go back to arbitration, the most they can get is the 2.5%, I think, or 3 at the max, I think. And then you get cost of living, but 3 is the max, I think.
I'm gonna agree with Gene. I think we should go back and negotiate one more
And-
time. Now that you guys know the dollar amount and maybe try to get a little bit more in line with what we've done everywhere else.
And I've always been a supporter of the ambulance. I think they
Yeah.
do
Oh,
great work.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know it is very complicated.
Lesson learned, we probably should have kept one person on the negotiating team in the county's side who had been there in the previous year.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
That, especially when they're going on a scaled increase on the tier system,
I mean, we can't
We don't
mind
know.
future boards, but you are correct.
but we
And
don't
you
know.
know, they brought it up, that tier system, and we always said, yeah, we can work on that, but we can't guarantee what that's gonna
Well, the
be.
first year they wanted the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, they wanted the whole thing.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we decline the tentative agreement and have these guys go back and renegotiate with the union.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Courtney, roll call, please.
Anderson,
No.
Houseman,
Yes,
Johnson,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
McCray.
No,
Okay, motion carries.
Item number 4, approve fiscal year 26 budget, local option sales tax contribution. Courtney sent out another wonderful spreadsheet. And in the years past, or last year, I know we gave 300,000, but this year, I think, Courtney, you put two different amounts in there for us, if you want to.
Yeah, I
Right.
used 300 and 400, just to give you an idea. Either way, you're looking at a reduction in the total levy. If you did 300, the additional tax ask for fiscal 26 would be $225,635. Obviously, if you did 400, it'd be $125,635. So I'm kind of looking for direction on what you guys think we should do. The 300, the 400, 500,
how much money do we have sitting in our local option sales tax?
like 1.1 or 1.2
1.2
million.
million.
Yeah,
1.2.
And I think it's worth pointing out that half of the local option sales tax that comes into the county goes into the rural basic fund, the way it is. The money we're talking about today will go into the supplemental fund, correct?
yeah, which would affect the whole county would receive that benefit
Yes.
versus just the rural.
So repeat that, what you said, tax asking on 200,000 be how much?
300,000.
Showing it 300.
Yeah,
Or 300,000?
$225,635.
225?
635.
I can barely hear you.
That's okay. I'm trying not to talk too loud because last time I was cutting out. $225,635.
Okay, and on the 400,000?
It'd be $125,635.
Take 100 off.
Okay,
And so, Courtney, I think, if I remember right, our tax ask went up by $225,000. Is that correct?
Yes,
25,635.
and most of that's based on the new construction, right? Evaluation.
yes.
And House File 718 is not limiting us, but I think if we get too carried away, it could hurt us if we were to put.
Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of reduction in our growth, but not enough that it hurt us. But really, the only wiggle room you have is to mess with that supplemental levy. If you start doing that on the rural and the general levy, depending on what growth is next year, it could,
We could affect it.
yeah, because they don't care that you didn't levy the full amount they said you could this year. But if you choose not to, that's what you're held to, and then the reduction would come off of that.
Do we get in trouble? I see, and in the paper from my mom's, that Green County property values went down 1.9%. Rural property values. So what's that effect for next year if ours goes down here in Carroll County?
Yeah, and based on the 300,000, a house valued at roughly 223,000 would see a decrease in their county taxes of approximately $9. A 40-acre tract of land worth approximately 64,000 would see no change in their tax asking from the county, and a commercial property valued at $1,029,000, they're actually going to see a decrease on the county level, about $155. So no change on the ag, but reductions on the house and the commercial, which is a good thing.
And that would be if you did the 300.
Correct.
Lost.
That's the number I like.
I personally like the 400.
I did too, but you guys have done this longer than I have.
No, I'm not.
I'm just looking at this, and I will ask for your feedback also on this.
Courtney, could you tell us off the top of your head what the fund balance for loss would be after, if we did use 400,000?
So we estimate to receive around $700,000. Okay, we estimate to receive about $1.4 million a year from lost. 700 goes into rural, so we don't touch that. So if you did $300,000, you would be adding $400,000 to that fund.
But
We don't really have very many expenses coming out of lost that are budgeted right now. No big projects, no anything. So you could potentially see, 1.6 in there at the end of fiscal 26.
well, we have committed some stuff out of the economic development side.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it's
there-
pretty minimal, in comparison. So
40, yeah, 40 grand. Right?
Hmm?
20 grand this year on that man.
Well, we got Marion, you got CCGP,
Arcadia.
Okay.
Arcadia, and what else do we put in there? There's some other.
But right now we have 1.2 million in there. So
I'm
we're
just
gonna-
looking at the taxpayer. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I-
what we're working for, and we want to try and lower anything we can with that. So
And I agree with you, Mark, as long as we don't set ourselves up for failure.
absolutely,
next year.
that's for your opinion. on
That's the
your
hard
system.
part. It's almost like you're,
Well, the only way we can do this is do it through the supplemental, because if we screw with those other general levies, we're setting ourselves up for.
oh, for sure.
problems.
Next year would not be good.
and it hurts because if you want to use that local option in the future for a big project and you take it away from offsetting the levy, then everybody's levy goes up. So I think
Catch
you gotta be
22.
you gotta be careful how much.
Sure.
We know that the 300 has served us well for the last couple of years. Putting 400 is probably not that big of a stretch. But I just need to know because I'm gonna be proposing our levy. I gotta do that by the 5th of March is the deadline, so.
2 days.
So you want a motion on this or what do you want to do?
Yes,
Well,
I'm sorry. Yeah, we
yeah,
need to
I-
decide 300,000 or 400,000.
Yeah,
I was trying to find.
and
I
if you
had-
wanna split the
one of them
difference,
was
I'm fine with
18
that. I
cents
don't,
less,
I
and
don't
one
care.
was 22% less.
Yeah.
22 cents.
350.
But like I say, I think we need to be careful if we do 400,000, we don't have any money. If something comes up next year and we put it in, it's gonna look like a huge tax increase. So yeah, I'm open. I mean, the two suggestions are between 300 and 400,000.
This is a good problem to, but this is a good way to be sitting right now, because obviously our tax asking and our levies are going down, which is good.
I'd make a motion to put 400,000 of lost in there.
There a second. If the 400,000, that means our tax ask compared to last year would be $125,000 more than last year.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Courtney, let's do a roll call.
Anderson,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Johnson,
No,
Miners.
Yes,
Yes,
Hey, motion carries.
item number 5, set public hearing for petition to vacate survey lot 1 northwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section 88434. And this is land. I will read it. Dick W. Warnemont and Marcy L. Warnemont being record title owners of lot 1 of the northwest quarter of section 8. T84N R34W of the 5th. So this is land in, I believe it's on the corner of Noble and 170th.
Yep.
It would be on the southeast corner. So I guess we're looking for a date to set up a public hearing.
Yeah, so we do have to publish this twice in the paper. So
This is the opposite of a split, so they're combining, it's the first time I've ever done one.
yeah, we don't do them very often.
Yeah.
In the description I got, the lot was created back in 1981 and it's just part of the farm now. So they're wanting it all at one parcel, which is totally fine with us as far as what we do upstairs. But we do need to publish it in the paper twice and have a public hearing. So I'm proposing March 24th at 9:30.
March 24th.
Yes.
Just curious, can you waive the second public hearing at the first public hearing?
So we have one public hearing. We just have to have it posted in the paper 2
Okay,
consecutive weeks.
all right. Do we need a motion for that?
Yes, we do.
I'll make a motion to have the public hearing set for March 24th at 9 a.m., 9:30 a.m.
Please.
Second that.
We have a motion second. Set the public hearing March 24th, 9:30. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manure management annual updates. Twin Rivers Pork, section 22, Arcadia Township, 4-year plan. Mike Weidel, section 13, Eden Township, no changes. NB Farms, section 20, Wheatland Township, no changes. PI 235 Finisher, section 5, Wheatland Township, added acres. Chris Finisher Farm, section 12, Wheatland Township, change crop rotation or optimum yields. Jasper Finisher Farms, section 15, Jasper Township, change crop or optimal yields, use manure analysis. 751 Woodford Creek Farms, section 12, Newton Township, change crop or optimum yields, used manure analysis. Item 7, committee reports.
I can go. Last week I had union negotiations with between the county and the paramedic association on Monday. I caught the tail end of the assessor meeting. Right, and we had, yeah, on Monday also. This week I got newspaper and radio, and that's all I have.
Last week I had the assessors meeting and to set her budget. This week, I had the Farm Bureau dinner, Wednesday night. And Region 12 executive policy on Thursday.
I also have Farm Bureau tonight.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I can go. Last week, I went to the region with Jeff Cullen on Wednesday, went to the Region 5 hazmat. Pretty interesting meeting we had. We spend as a county $7,785 quarterly, which is $31,740 annually to this hazmat program. We approved some of the bills. At this Region 5, I met with a couple of supervisors. I mean, we were talking about budget also. Just an FYI, I think we did a pretty decent job. Humboldt froze theirs. They gave no raises this year. And Calhoun County gave each one of their full-time employees a $1,500 raise and a 1% increase. So when it comes to budget, I don't think we did terribly bad this year. Went to a DCAT meeting on Wednesday with Molly Scott, approved some funding again there. This week, I've got, I'm going to tour with Dalton. Hopefully after we get done here, he's going to kind of show me what all the buildings and things we are in charge of throughout the county. And then Wednesday, we got a Farm Bureau meeting. That's all I had.
Okay, last week I attended the conference board meeting, set the final budget. Tuesday was policy council for Head Start. Basically went through everything there. We did approve a grant, year 2 liquidation extension of 98,000. That's money that's didn't get spent. That's to work on some foundation on one building that we have, which will be done this spring. Other than that, program report was good and everything was fine there. Then on Thursday, we had new opportunities, had their annual meeting. We had this first meeting at 2 new supervisors, Corey Ridgway from Calhoun County and Julia Helm from Dallas County. They joined us this time. We went through the audit. It was a clean audit, which I will give Courtney a copy of here, and if everyone wants to see it. So everything was great there. We did approve the indirect cost of 16%. This is the money that we use for administration that comes from CHP. So we did approve that cost, and that's the same as it was last year. We discussed and approved fiscal policies and procedures manuals. And then we also, on the board itself, had some training done by our attorney and what our duties of the board were and all that kind of good stuff. We accepted new opportunities annual report, and then also accepted a Head Start early annual report also. We did that and select officers. The officers basically stayed the same, with me being as the board president, and then but vice president was Terry Striegler from Sac County, being Carl Legore is not there no more, or Calhoun County. So then after that, we had our regular board meeting, which was, we just accepted the current financials. Did go through all the stuff that I went through on the policy council, and then went through some stuff that was approved to us. This week I have CCGP tomorrow and program report, and then also Wednesday is Farm Bureau.
Thank you. Last week, Monday, we had the conference board meeting. And I did sign a contract with Vanguard Appraisals for residential revaluation for the completion date of January 15, 2035 for $1.5 million. We also set the assessor's salary and approved our fiscal year budget. Monday, I went to the ambulance station, signed an EMS development grant, which is a yearly thing. It's used to buy small equipment throughout the county. I attended the city council meeting last Monday night. Tuesday, went to secondary roads to understand the various licenses they use on a software they have that is shared with GIS and the auditor's office uses. Wednesday, had a brainstorming session on the next cell location for the landfill with the executive director, Mary Woodry. Thursday, I joined a conference call with Sarah on the same licensing, and she was thinking there were gonna be 1,200 seat closing. I'm not sure if you know this, but they're only 125 seats. So I think we'll keep everybody who has them. I did exchange phone calls and emails with Renee Van Boken about the ambulance union and some possible handbook changes coming up. Friday, sent an email to Region 12. I was asked to send this by Jeff Cullen for a notice of intent for a $3,500 grant that EMS is looking for in Carroll County. Friday, also talked with Courtney about handbook changes and set today's agenda. This week, tomorrow, CCG presentation. I think it's from APQS Quilting, if I remember right. Wednesday, Farm Bureau meeting. And I did ask them for a list of their questions beforehand. So, because I think all 5 of us are going to be there. It'd be nice to be able to answer some of them. I mean, I know the road projects they're going to want to know, but last year I think they caught us off guard a little bit with some we couldn't answer on the spot. Thursday, secondary roads claims. Friday, March board meeting at the recycling center and courthouse payables. And then a reminder that April 15th, opioid funds, $275,000 that CD matures. And we probably need to get the word out if people have possible uses for those dollars. That's all I have. Courtney, anything from you or next week?
Next week, I just have a bill day right now.
Courtney, question for you. Being this, and you're doing the budget, tentatively, you're gonna just stick a figure in there for the ambulance right now, and we'll have to make it up out of reserves if we have to, or
Well, I was given a worst case scenario from the director, which is my understanding. What we have in there now is actually more than what the tentative agreement was for. So what we'll do is we'll leave it in there. Hopefully there's a decision made before we actually finalize the budget. And
Oh,
we
that's
can
right.
bring that
Yeah,
number
I did
down if
ask
we
you
need
the
to.
other day.
He is out till month 12 for that.
But then the number we have in our budget should not go up because it's
Okay. that's-
actually higher than what
You're
the
right, we
agreement
we
was.
can still reduce.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even if our budget gets set, I think the first time we do an amendment, we're gonna adjust that. Just so we have the correct numbers in there, but hopefully it can get done before April 30th.
Any questions or comments from those in attendance? What's the next step, Steph?
So moved. To adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Second, is there a
Opposed?
second?
I did. Second.
We are adjourned.